Welcome back from the short break. We would like to announce the next session that it's related to green manufacturing for a sustainable future. We at EIT Manufacturing are supporting and funding green tech and startups that are also having positive impact on the environment and the society in general. Today, Gianluca Griffi, my colleague in business creation, coming from EIT Manufacturing South, will talk with two investors that have focus on green investments and are impactful investments. And on the other side, he will ask the startups that are developing this kind of solutions in the green manufacturing sector to explain their experience and how they grow in the ecosystem through networking and through collaboration with different stakeholders. Gianluca Griffi has a mission to contribute to a harmonic integration of technology and nature. As he likes to say, a green heart for a green manufacturing. Welcome, Gianluca.
Thank you. What an introduction. Thank you so much, Yasmina. And you said it all. I am Business Creation Manager of Colocation Center South, and I'm here with four amazing panelists that will drive us through this interesting topic of green manufacturing for a sustainable future. So I'd like to introduce all of them one by one, and then we go straight to our conversation or sharing. I'd like to start with Greta Mostavic. She's already been introduced since she's also one of our jury members. Thank you so much, Greta. On top of that, she's a co-founder of Catalyst Ventures, who's the first triple top-line hybrid startups, accelerators, and investment funds in the Baltics. Hello, Greta.
Thank you, Gianluca.
Hi. And we also have our second expert is Caroline Hendries. She's joining us from the Center for Industry and Sustainability in Germany. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
Welcome. And then we have two startups who joined us. I would like to start with Alberto Vaqueriza. He's from Linkcase, a provider of non-destructive technology for inspection of ferrous parts. Hello, Alberto. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, how are you? Thank you.
And our fourth panelist is Robin Simsa from Reevo Foods, a startup that 3D prints plant-based seafood. Hello, Robin. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Hello. And I'd like to start with Greta and have a very simple question, but hard to answer probably. What is the role of investors as an enabling service to implement green manufacturing? The stage is yours, Greta.
Thanks, Gianluca, and definitely an important question and not so simple to answer. I think, what we are witnessing is quite an interesting time. Many of the investors are currently focusing on the keywords such as, fintech, SaaS, B2B software solutions, and all of that. And this is definitely not manufacturing per se. However, when we're looking at the important parts from the impact perspective, right, for the Europe and globally, we see that a lot of impact for the world, for people and planet, is actually created on the manufacturing side. So then the question arises, how do we boost that? How do we make the manufacturing greener? How do we support that impact creation on the positive side rather than just supporting other initiatives that do not actually have that huge impact on the world? So I think this is exactly one of the main roles of the investors, to support that innovation where it is most needed, right? And I think it's the challenge here is that manufacturing is often related to huge upfront costs and long cycles of product development and things like that. But at the same time, this is exactly why we are needed. And this is exactly why I think investor role is also broader, or should be broader in the manufacturing area, meaning that not only money is needed, but also the experience, the network, the support on customer creation and customer finding side is very important. At Catalysta Ventures, what we are doing a lot is talk about triple top line, as you mentioned already. And when we talk about triple top line, it's actually about not reduction of the negative impact, but actually how do we create positive impact for people, planet, and profit. And this is immediately going beyond money only, right? This is actually about how do we create positive impact business models? How do we support entrepreneurs to do so? How do we test the products before they have raised the cost like crazy? And how do we find clients to pilot these products with? So this is also one of the parts where we have an accelerators, for example, as a tool to pilot with big corporates the pilot projects of various startups. And I think this is one of the ways that investors can support the startups in scaling their impactful projects. And yeah, so I think really it's not about money, it's about money to some extent, but also about the network, about getting to the client faster, and also supporting in creating a business model that works and that also integrates the people and the planet in the business model, so that with each sale that we're doing, we get more positive impact for all, for the planet and the people as well.
Well, thank you so much, Greta. And I have a curiosity actually for you to answer. I always heard about the triple bottom line reporting and so on, but what do you mean with triple top line? I don't think it's about reporting, is it?
No, it's, I would say that's a philosophy. That's kind of a strategic approach to your business. So I can get into this for many minutes now, so I'm not gonna. But in theory, when we're talking about the triple top line, we're talking about people, planet, and profit being intertwined. So it's not like we have our business running and then we do some sort of initiatives on people and then we do some sort of initiatives on the planet. This is about business creation in the way that each of these three elements is intertwined, and you cannot separate one from another. So yeah, so one of my favorite examples in this case, when we're talking about triple bottom line, which is about reducing the negative impact usually, and about reporting on how we reduced, 30% of the toxic materials in a product or something like that. So we can talk about, the fact that we have a lot of air pollution due to the wall paint usually, or like all of these materials that are covered with various materials that we breathe in. So that would, reducing toxic materials in those products would be triple bottom line. But there's a company called Gush that's creating wall paint that cleans the air. So that's actually about the triple top line. And supporting businesses and startups to do so is very much what we are passionate about.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for your answer. Now, I'd like to involve now Alberto Vacarisa from Linkcase. And Alberto, what is the sustainability impact of the technology of Linkcase? And also, so it's a two layers question from my end. And the second part is, how do you, in terms of green investment impact, from a startup point of view, I would like to understand what is your view on that? Is it helping you, supporting you, in which way, and so on? Please, Alberto.
Okay. Well, I'll answer first your first question. Okay. So, well, at Linkcase, we supply quality inspection machines that estimate mechanical properties of metallic parts. Okay. Today, in many industries, manufacturers are forced to destroy a percentage of the parts that they manufacture to verify the mechanical properties. And with our technology, they can do this without destroying the parts. Okay. And how do we do this? We use electromagnetic techniques. We magnetize the parts and we take some measurements that allow us to estimate these mechanical properties without the need of destroying parts. Okay. And what's the impact of what we're doing? Okay. What's the sustainability impact that we have? I will use one example. Okay. I think it's going to be easier. It's crankshaft manufacturing. Every car has a crankshaft, or well, this will change with years, okay? But around 90 million crankshafts are manufactured every year worldwide. And approximately 0.5% of these crankshafts are destroyed in order to verify these mechanical properties. This means, well, in terms of costs, this is probably around more than 20 million euros per year. And in terms of negative impact, I would say it's around 18,000 tons of CO2 are emitted because of manufacturing the steel that is required for this crankshaft, and around 180,000 gigajoules are also used to produce these parts that are not, you shouldn't need to destroy. And with our technology, our customers do not need to destroy, okay? Beyond this, it's also important to consider that it's not only the parts that we are somehow saving, it's also that today the technicians that are doing these verifications, they use some acids that they put into the part in order to verify this part. And this means that more or less around 6 liters of water are polluted to verify each part. So again, here we're speaking probably around 3 million liters per year being polluted. And now we're speaking only about one application, one example. And obviously our technology could avoid this. And this could also be implemented in many other applications. Okay. And well, our company was founded in 2018. Since then, we're seeing a lot of interest in our technology, and not only because it allows them to improve or reduce their costs and improve the environmental impact, but also because the quality of our inspection is that much quicker. Today they spend probably hours in order making these verifications, and with our technology you can do this well in several minutes or hours. Okay, I'll go now next to your next question and green investment impact from a startup point of view. I guess that, well, generally, obviously, we believe that this is a very positive movement, if may allow to say it. Because it rewards the startups that are focusing their efforts on improving the environment. Okay, so we believe this is obviously very important. Then I'll speak about our personal experience, okay, which might be a little bit different. It's also true that our impact is a little bit indirect. Okay, we provide the technology that our customers will use to reduce the negative impact. So we're not probably the greenest startup in the market, but I must admit that we're right now in the middle of an investment round, and very few of the investors that we are speaking with are well as committed as Catalyst Ventures is definitely with this environmental impact. Very few are asking about this. They focus on the typical well, first sales, how's the team, and these things. Okay, so I do not know if it's because, well, the venture capital companies that we are speaking with, or because we do not stress our impact enough in our pitches, in our sales pitches, or in our investor pitches. But well, it's our experience, so I guess I need to share it.
Well, thank you so much, Alberto. Thank you. And Greta, I was wondering if you can comment about the experience that Alberto shared, or maybe give some hints to startups in a similar stage as the Link case.
Sure. I think, Alberto, thanks for sharing that. I think this is a very common view that you're receiving, from the investors. It really depends on each investor, how they approach their investments. Mm-hmm. And, something that we always say, that all the startups at our portfolio, they should be investable not only by impact investors, but also by any other investor, because there has to be a business case. I think this misconception of sustainable startups not being profitable or not giving a return on investment, that's a total nonsense and it's not true. And you know, any investor should be able to invest in your startup. So I think that's also a good point that you're making, that many of your investors are not there. There's also an opportunity from a startup side to share that impact and show for the investor other values, not only financial value, but also from the people or planet side. What value are you creating, especially in terms of all the context in the world and regulation that's coming? You know, this is just being forward thinking, I would say. And yeah, and I think I was also just reflecting on what you, Alberto, said. Manufacturing is actually creating a perfect case for sustainability, in a sense that you're showing the cost effectiveness and the opportunities that you can get from using sustainable technologies, right? So you talked about water, about resources, about time and profits at the same time, right? So I think this is just great, and we need more startups like that to share the vision, but also communicate the effects that you're having with your clients, and to show investors what they're missing out on. So definitely really nice to hear from you, Alberto. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Alberto, and thank you, Greta. Actually, the second part of our panel, I'd like to focus on a word that Greta mentioned earlier, which is networking. Actually, more of the importance of a systemic approach to implement, for example, circular economy model. I'd like to involve here Caroline and share her point of view on this matter.
Yes, thank you so much. It's a very, as you mentioned, it's a huge topic. It's difficult to focus even on Summit. But I think what's everybody probably agrees on is that our world at the moment is as interlinked as it's ever been before. And we've also seen last year with the COVID-19 pandemic, when the global value chains broke down, how interconnected we really are. And we also saw some grassroots movements, like some companies in geographically close areas moving together to put, for example, to produce disinfectant together, or to 3D print safety equipment. There was a lot of innovation potential in these stakeholder communities that were rising. And that's something that we have seen for the pandemic, but that's something that we need to see for our green transition as well. That's like the innovation potential from this that is very relevant to our processes, particularly also in the manufacturing industry. And I think in large parts right now, we are still in a very linear economy. So that means we have an economic model which is very much based on an extraction and depletion. It's very straightforward. It's not that interconnected. I mean, in recent years, it's been a movement to be more connected, but it's still largely very linear. And I think to actually really green manufacturing, we need to move to a more systemic approach. As you mentioned, we need to move to a more circular way of thinking. So we need to put into consideration environmental, economic, social factors, everything that's out there. We need to not just extract and use our materials and then throw it away, but we need to look at it like individually, in the sense that, is there any byproducts that we have in our processes? Is there any waste material that might be relevant either for our own processes or maybe for other companies or other partners? We need to look at it in a material state, but also particle state, maybe nutrients, what's there within our own processes that may be relevant for anybody else. And that is something, of course, that cannot be done sitting at your desk at home by yourself. That is something that needs to be done involving a lot of different stakeholders. And you need to involve different networks, different people, see who is relevant for your certain topic to be able to identify this innovation potential even, because usually, of course, everybody has their own certain area and they need to be able to look outside of that to really detect these opportunities. So I think I would always recommend, of course, to not just, as we saw with COVID as well, not just look internationally, but look in particular regionally for these different stakeholder networks. And I always think like a nice example of that is like where I work at an industrial park in Frankfurt. It's a very large park. It has 90 different companies in one area in Frankfurt on the chemical and pharma industry. And I think that's always like a manifested example of how like a network or a cluster of partners can look like, because of course, since we're geographically located so close, we share same resources, we have the same waste disposal system. And that way we both save finances, like we have financial benefits from that, but at the same time, we also have a better impact or a less impact maybe on the environment than we would have otherwise. For example, in our industrial area, we have as a byproduct, we have hydrogen. So we use this hydrogen give it to the municipality and they can use it for the urban mobility concept for trains, for buses. We have a biogas tank where some of the waste can be burned to create new energy, which is a benefit for all the tenants in that area. And I think that's just an example, a very practical example of how like this network can really create some impact. And I guess what I'm trying to say in total is that we need to constantly remodel and rethink our business models. We need to use networks to be able to do so. We need to involve different stakeholders in the process. And as an SME or as a startup, you are very much able to do so, or you're possibly even the leaders of the green transition because you're a lot more agile than we are at larger companies, for example. You can be the solution provider to our problems in a way that we as larger companies cannot be in the end. So I think that's something that we need to always keep in mind, and I'm looking forward to hear what Reevo Foods has to say to that as example startup, I guess, with sustainability at the core.
Oh, okay, spoiler alert, you spoiled my next interview. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Caroline. And Robin, yes, now it's time of Reevo Food. But before we ask you a question, can you show your t-shirt to the audience? Because I think it's really nice. There you go. He's very committed. So anyway, we're talking about disruptive new business models and so on. And for a person like me, very much into growing and cooking and eating organic, the idea of 3D printing food was more than disruptive. It was almost even, super destabilizing, if you want. And I can imagine that you, on top of developing technology, you also have to put a lot of energy and resources in those networks and systemic approach and connecting dots and so on. So can you tell us a little bit more about Reevo Food in general and specifically on this matter of networking and systemic approach?
Sure. So basically what we do is we develop plant-based seafood. So vegan seafood, which does not have the same problems such as industrial fishing or aquaculture, with the overfishing, with the use of antibiotics and the accumulation of heavy metals and microplastics. So basically our vision is to give all seafood lovers a more sustainable and a healthier alternative. That's what Reevo Foods is about. And how we do this is with 3D food printing, because this allows us to create a new kind of plant-based meat. So far, I don't know in what countries you all are, but in basically any country in Europe, you can go to the supermarket and you will find things like veggie hamburger or veggie sausages maybe. But if you think about it, for the steak or the fish fillet, the consumers don't have any alternative right now. And with 3D printing, it's the first time that we're able to recreate such products. And I believe this is very important because we talk here about sustainability, and one of the main driving forces of climate change, one of the main emitters of CO2 and other greenhouse gases is actually meat production. So it's estimated that up to 30% of all greenhouse gases are directly or indirectly emitted from farming animals or raising feed for these animals. So I think it's in the interest of all of us to find better alternatives, how we can give people the same taste, the same pleasure that they enjoy when eating meat, but without all the negative consequences. And regarding what you said about a systemic approach, I think it's incredibly important to connect different industry stakeholders. Like right now, what we see, for instance, there's a huge pushback from the industry. There's a huge pushback, for instance, the plant-based milks I've had before, they cannot be called milk. Now in the European Union, the farm lobbyists try to ban the names of hamburgers, sausages and such for plant-based products. So I think connecting and forming a strong network of, for instance, plant-based industry or other sustainable industries is very important to defend also against the succumbent industries that, of course, try to defend their own interests. So, yeah, I think connections are vital and crucial for these kind of industries.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Robin. And so Caroline, so you are very competent. You heard about the Reevo Food and so on. Any recommendation you would like to give to Robin, to his venture, and or to other startups in the same stage, please?
Well, I think Robin is doing it already quite great. First of all, I'm starting to get hungry when I listen to it. I would like to try that. I'm curious, but no, what he mentioned, they seem to already be quite involved with different stakeholders, with policy side stakeholders, as well as with different networks that are interacting in this field of sustainable food and different food sectors. But I would recommend to other startups maybe that are still in the building process, or that are like right now rethinking their business model or want to become more sustainable. There is a lot of support and tools also out there. Like, for example, I don't know, a lot of people might have heard of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, of course. They also offer on their website, and there's plenty of others as well, offer different tools where as a startup, you can use them to maybe look at your product and break it down into different parts, like see where is there potential or different components that I might involve different stakeholders with. So it's always a step-by-step guidance thing. But I think it would be very helpful, and I cannot really recommend it to Robin, because I think their business idea is sustainable in its core. But there is, of course, a lot of listeners probably who have a different situation where they can still improve their sustainability factor. They can see, where do I source my material from? Where do I want to lead it to? And I would look at different tools, different support mechanisms, and then in the process, see maybe who to involve specifically locally, but also internationally, of course.
Great. Thank you so much, Karen. Actually, we come now to the end of our panel. I would like to thank you all four of you, Greta, Caroline, Alberto, and Robin, for your precious participation and comments. And it's time now to go back to the studio and to the live event. Thank you so much again, and see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Gianluca, and thank you very much to the panelists. It was a really inspiring session, and it's always good to talk and think about impact, not just profits.